Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We've got a very important topic that I want to discuss, which is why it is crucial for you as a dad to fight for parenting time with your children. We've discussed it a little bit in some pieces in some episodes over the past years, but this one's going to be very specific to a reason why you need to do that and the benefits of doing so. But before we jump into that topic, let me welcome Alan and Alec to the Divorced Advocate community. Welcome, gentlemen. If you're not part of the community, check it out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. All kinds of opportunities for you to get the help that you need and deserve, free resources to paid resources. The divorce quiz is a great free resource. Check out where you're at in your divorce mentally and emotionally compared to tens of thousands of others who have taken the quiz, and it'll give you some immediate results and also give you the opportunity to chat with me and go over those results, see what's going well for you, and also areas where you might need a little bit of support in getting through this challenging time. So check that out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. Okay, why it's crucial for you as a dad to fight for parenting time with your children. And so again, we've talked about this before, and I try to always emphasize and reinforce with you on the show here why you are important to your children and in their lives. I know that's not a message that we get as men and fathers in our society very often. So that's why I feel that it's important to reinforce that with you. And we had a group meeting yesterday, and one of the gentlemen was going through a challenging divorce where the court has actually recognized some significant mental emotional issues with his soon-to-be ex, and he was hesitant to seek out full parenting time and decision-making with his kiddos, which from the sounds of it, and obviously we are only able to listen to what he has to share, but from the sounds of what he's described and what his attorney has recommended, that it would probably be in his children's best interest for him to pursue that, but he was still hesitant to do that. And so, fatherhood is most definitely recognized as a crucial component of children's development. But as I said, society often still assumes that mothers are the primary caregivers. And in this situation, there was also a ethnical kind of bent towards that too, where he was not feeling comfortable with being a full-time, having full-time parenting time. So, but these assumptions, particularly from our society, can leave fathers marginalized in custody battles and parenting time arrangements. But again, fathers bring a unique and replaceable qualities to their children's lives that can't be overlooked. And so fighting for parenting time is not just about your legal rights, and it shouldn't be just about your legal rights, but it's about being active and present and being a force in your child's emotional and physical development. And so, there's this great book out there. It's called The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell. And in it, he highlights the importance of fathers in raising emotionally resilient and Well-Adjusted Children. I highly recommend picking it up. It's full of all kinds of statistics and information, and Warren Farrell's background is absolutely fascinating in how he's come to research and do this research about boys and where they're at in our society right now, and what dads can do to help benefit that. But the research shows that children, and in his book, at least, he's addressing specifically boys, but boys and girls who grow up without an involved father are more likely to experience emotional issues. They're also more likely to experience poor academic performance and have difficulty forming relationships later in life. And so the absence of a father creates what he describes as a boy crisis, but I think we can just call it a childhood crisis. He again is specifically talking about boys, where young boys in particular are struggling with identity, purpose, and belonging. And I think we can agree that a lot of young kids in general today, boys and girls, struggle with identity, purpose, and belonging. I was talking to somebody last night who teaches with middle school kids, and it was described that their aspirations are to win the lottery, sue somebody and make a lot of money, or become an influencer, or the top three things that they aspire to doing to make money and make an impact in the world. So if that's not scary and sad to some extent, I don't know what is, and I have concerns going forward with our kiddos, and that stems from that starts with us as fathers and our unique role as fathers. We provide something that is distinct from mothers, and these differences are vital for balanced childhood development, whether you hear it or not, and whether it's being raised in the courts or emphasized in therapy. It is absolutely true. And one example is dads often engage in more rough and tumble play, and so we've kind of had this removed from schools, kind of the boys playing on the playground and tackling each other and doing stuff, which is unfortunate, because the rough and tumble play teaches children to manage aggression, explore boundaries, and develop physical confidence. And this is boys and girls, right? And oftentimes that happens on the playground or through sports activities, et cetera, et cetera. But dads do it with rough and tumble play. I know I did it with my dad, and I know that I've done it with my daughters as well. And so, this type of play also helps foster emotional regulation and resilience, and it teaches children how to handle both physical and emotional discomfort, but it does that in a safe and supportive environment. So think about that not happening in your childhood, and then that has to happen in some sort of circumstance in your adult life. That is very traumatic and difficult to deal with. So that's one example of the unique role that we bring as fathers. Another one is in providing discipline and structure. In his book, Farrell explains that dads often encourage risk-taking, but they do that in the context of a controlled manner in a controlled environment. And this leads to increased independence and problem-solving skills. It also helps children grow into confident individuals who can face challenges head-on. And so while moms will tend to be more protective, fathers will often encourage children to push their limits and help them to build the kind of courage and perseverance that will serve them into their adult life. Because again, there's that balance that the masculine nature of dads can bring to the feminine nature of moms, and so we need both of them. And when one is absent, then it's detrimental. It's like we talk about the four legs of the stool: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, and needing all of those to have a balanced life. And this is the same thing when you don't have that masculine development and the things that come with it. Additionally, fathers model healthy relationships and respect, especially for boys. And a dad who demonstrates strong leadership, accountability, And emotional stability shows his children how to be a man, how to operate in a relationship in the healthiest sense of the word. Excuse me. And for daughters, the presence of a father figure provides a template for future relationships and helps them understand what it means to be respected and valued. So you can see that there are things that only dads can bring to just both boys and girls by having an active part and being actively involved in their lives. And so so that's just a recap. You guys, that's not anything new that you guys have heard me talk about. And so I just wanted to reiterate some of the real specific things and also highlight Warren Farrell's book and encourage you to get that and read. It's full of anecdotes as well as data that will support the anecdotes that he shares in the book. So check it out for sure. But now I want to talk about what we got into yesterday in our group meeting, and that's the harm of ignoring mental health. Excuse me, the harm of ignoring mental health concerns in custody battles. So I mentioned society often emphasizes the need for children to remain with their mothers. It's an outdated mindset and idea that the courts have not caught up with. And it's essential to consider the impact also of maternal mental health issues, including personality disorders, on a child's development. And ignoring these factors can have a long-lasting effect on a child's emotional well-being. I can speak to that specifically. Mothers with untreated mental health issues like my mother had may expose their children to emotional manipulation, neglect, or even physical abuse. And obviously, this is not to say that all mothers with mental health issues are unfit, but these concerns must be taken seriously during custody discussions. And like the one dad in the group meeting yesterday, it was so egregious and obvious to the court that they had, without his prompting, started to do things to protect the children from the mother, who was not behaving in a manner that was conducive to the best interest of her children. And so, when children are exposed to a parent with severe mental health issues, this develops trauma that manifests in various ways, such as anxiety, depression, or attachment disorders. So there's real serious consequences if we fail to address that. And I was going to say fail to recognize that, but fail to address it. I think oftentimes what may happen, and it's difficult and challenging, I know, I've been in the situation, is that there's a vast amount of fear around addressing those. We may recognize them. Probably one of the reasons why some of our marriages have failed or are failing. But the fear is around addressing those, because being a full-time dad and having full parenting time is difficult and challenging. And so, one of the things that Farrell finds in his book is that children raised in these environments where there is severe mental health issues that does develop trauma, is that the kids are more likely to struggle with forming stable, healthy relationships in adulthood, and the trauma they experience in childhood will carry over into their adult relationship, making it difficult for them to trust others or to set boundaries. So, fathers, it is incumbent upon us to fight for parenting time when the mother is unable to provide a stable, healthy environment due to mental illness. And the focus should always be on what's best for the child. And sometimes that means that us as dads need to step in as the primary caregiver and provide that stability, that love, and that support that the child desperately needs. I know that in doing so, you might feel inadequate and unable to provide everything that you that you feel needs to be provided to a child, particularly from that nurturing standpoint that only a mother or a feminine presence can. But here's the trade-off, and we discussed this yesterday: is that are you going to leave your child in an environment where the long-term damage is going to be lasting and difficult to unravel, or are you going to protect them from that? And while you might not be able to provide everything, because we are just dads and we're meant to be parenting with two parents and have both of those influences on our kids, but have some of that missing from their lives, but not creating a traumatic environment or an abusive environment and allowing them to stay in that and having the lasting difficulties and challenges that they have. And so my answer to that all day long is protect our children from that environment and make sure that they are not experiencing abuse or trauma that is going to have a lasting impact on them. And so while I would also agree that there are things and times that kids are not going to get everything that they might need, it is better that happening than being in that poor environment for their childhood. And so let's talk about the core of fatherhood, which in my estimation is providing and protecting. And like I said, we have a fundamental role as both providers and protectors. And this is beyond financial support. We provide emotional protection by creating a safe space for children to express themselves and navigate life's challenges. I gave you some of those examples earlier. We also protect children's future by instilling values like responsibility, work ethic, and respect. And so by fighting for parenting time, it's really an extension of this protective role, ensuring that our influence is not minimized or erased due to legal bias or societal norms. And I'm not saying that is actually really going to be an easy thing to do, but it is incumbent upon us to do it. And so in situations where a mother's mental health or maybe a personality disorder poses a risk to a child's well-being, we must act as advocates for our children. And that might be hard to wrap your head around, right? But it's critical for dads to understand that seeking custody or more parenting time is not a confrontation with the mother. Let me say that again. Fathers we need to understand that seeking more custody or full-time custody or more parenting time is not a confrontation with the mother, but it is a necessary step ensuring the child's long-term well-being. So that just means that you are thinking in a long-term way, and you're thinking about helping them to be healthy, functioning adults. And by doing so, you are taking the steps necessary now to ensure that in the future. And so by being involved, aware, proactive, we can provide a balanced, nurturing environment that mitigates this potential damage caused by an unstable or unhealthy home situation with the mother. So, in conclusion, fellas, we're not just optional participants in the upbringing of our children. We are essential. You hear me say that all the time. I'm going to say it again right now. There's no greater thing that you can do in your children's life than be present to them. All the statistics and studies prove this out and show this. So your involvement will contribute uniquely to their emotional and psychological well-being. And you're going to provide discipline, confidence, risk-taking opportunities, and model healthy adult relationships. And like Warren Farrell says in The Boy Crisis, it makes it clear that children who don't have fathers that are involved in their life suffer. And so it's also equally important to recognize that fathers have a responsibility, which is the second part of what I said today. When a mother's mental health issues create an unstable environment for their children. And allowing children to remain in such a setting is going to cause lasting trauma. It's going to hinder their ability to form healthy relationships and thrive in adulthood. And we have to be willing to fight for that parenting time, not just for our own sake. It is not actually, it's not for our own sake at all, because it's much more difficult to be parenting solo and by yourself and full time than it would be otherwise. But it is to protect the well-being and the future of your children. So again, fellas, I know that this is a difficult and emotionally charged topic, and it's oftentimes difficult to get out of that fear-based thought process of what's going to happen. How can I possibly do this? One of the other things that the gentleman talked about was, how am I going to possibly work, have a successful career, make enough money to support my kids, and be parenting full-time and doing everything? I can relate to that 100%, having had my daughters full-time for a good portion of their childhood. So I do want to say to you, if you're going through that experience and you do have that fear, that you are strong enough to get through that, and you will find a way for sure. That you are resilient, that the kids are resilient, that they will get through it, and you will have experiences that you can look back on that you had no idea would be the beneficial outcome of going through that difficult and challenging time. And I say that having been down the road now 11 years and having gone through some of that, and have looked back on that and said, I never would have chosen that, but I can't imagine. I can't, I can't believe how amazing the result of that challenge has been in the relationship and the benefit that it has given to my daughters. So I just want to give you a little bit of hope around, if you're going through that difficult choice right now. Step into it, lean into it, embrace it, fight for it, because you are strong enough to accomplish it, and your children absolutely, positively deserve and need for you to do that for them. So, gentlemen, thanks for listening. I hope that you found some value in this today. If you have, share this far and wide on social media. Leave us a star rating, even better. Give us a comment that helps other dads get drawn to this podcast and tune in and get the support that they need and deserve. Have a terrific week, and God bless you. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.